the evil DJ.
Yeah.
I love the name.
Yeah. First of all,
So it's like music ongoing.
You know, and I
In
love
the background.
music and I love to dance.
Yeah.
So when I first heard about this concept, evil DJ, I thought to myself, evil, what's going on?
Why is he
and then when I
evil?
read a little bit more about it, and it's the idea about that comes from the fact that you have voices that tell you can't do something, you can't lead, you can't speak up, you can't be outstanding, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not only at that surface level. Digging a little deeper, I realized that it comes from an experience or a set of experiences, whether it's from a parent, a teacher, a friend, a boss, who told you you're
You
too
can't.
much or too little of this. It's either
Too
too
much.
little or too much.
Too much or
or
too
too
little.
Yeah, it's usually one thing or the other.
Yeah.
And so it's either you're not intelligent enough, which means it's too little intelligence, or you're too loud, which means what's wrong with this volume, you know. And unfortunately, we embrace it because of the relationship we have
With the
that
person.
whether it's authority, love, respect,
Totally.
honor. So we take it
To heart.
and it becomes almost like a
Especially
brain tattoo.
family, partners.
Yes. It becomes almost
Friends,
like
like close friends when they
Yes.
tell you stuff. And sometimes they can be wrong, right?
Exactly. And people will always see things in the way they have experienced things.
From their,
Yes.
so they're giving you their advice based on their level of
Fear.
and limitation. So if they don't think it's
Exactly.
possible, they'll tell you it's not possible because they haven't thought of it.
Yeah.
So now the evil DJ continues to, so the inner critic grows. It's almost like you feed the inner critic the more you listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
So don't speak. The next time it's harder to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So the one thing is recognize our human experience will always have an evil DJ because we're human. There'll always be some doubt. The question is, how much do you allow the doubt to engulf us and to overpower us? You see? And it's interesting because I mean, there's no amount of saying this that does it. It's almost like driving. When you learn how to drive, you learn on and the first time I was like, I can really drive, you know. When you enter the car, that's when you question what was that I was doing on the roundabout. It's not exactly the way it was on the table.
You're trying to flash.
So yeah, 18-point turn, you know. But the point is, it's not by theory, it's by practice. It's by the habit of speaking up, of doing that thing that you know is good, but you're held back. So how do you move from developing your inner critic to developing your inner coach? And that's where now you start asking yourself, so what caused these voices? And some things are so clear. I've met people who say 40 years ago so and so told me this, and then they remember it to a T because it was so hurtful. So to start by name where this came from. It's hard, deep work. And I think the leadership is an inside job first. So to actually figure out, so where did this come from? And then to do the work around healing and forgiveness. Because until you make peace with what has happened in your past, in my past, it's very hard to move forward. So forgiving, and then now saying, okay, now I'm going to create a new playlist, which comes back to the idea of affirmations, which we talked about earlier.
Which is the self-love. That's the
Exactly.
self-love.
You see how all these things are so connected.
Yeah,
And so you start to actually say, I can do it. I am worthy. I'm
In
a
a
child of
coach.
God. You know, so you actually craft your own. I know one of our clients who's put it on a mirror and taken a picture and it's on their screen, and it's, you know, it's everywhere. And so that when that evil DJ comes, what you want to do is neurohack and very quickly interrupt the flow of negative thoughts.
Totally.
And when you do, then you begin to, that self-love, that self-care. And then as a result, you also lead people from that context.
And you from that place.
Yes,
that
which is
isn't
really a
fearful.
space of more abundance, more,
it's
there's enough for
abundance.
all of us.
Yeah.
So why am I, holding back? Why do I think my ideas don't matter? Why? No, let me ask that question. And it's so interesting because I have been plagued by evil DJ all my life, as I guess all of us. But I have found then you have to sometimes ask yourself, when I'm going into that place, what's my intention? You see, because your intention can also help you think about what you want to do. So why do I want to ask that question? Why do I want to do that? Is it for myself only? Or is it also to serve? Or is it also, because leadership is service. So by asking that question, am I curious? Do I want to learn? By giving that contribution, do I want to share an insight that may not have been shared in the meeting? So evil DJ, hard work, but totally worth it.
What do you do with the evil DJs in your life? Like if, you were talking about something about your environment, right?
Yeah, if they're physically still there.
Yes, you live with them or you meet them.
You live with them, you meet them. I mean, you can find yourself in a situation where you're just surrounded by evil DJs. I think I found myself where I'm like, oh my God, everyone here is an evil And I think I've been a little bit extreme because what I've done is just walk away.
I wonder if they're watching.
If they're watching, they can also see that I'm rising.
Yes.
Because I was able to say, no, I can't thrive in this environment. I can't thrive when you're putting me down every day. I cannot. I simply cannot. Whether I love you, you love me, I cannot.
You have to step away.
And that can be really hard for people. And also those people who are the evil DJs, they're just in the habit. They don't even know that
maybe they don't know they're even evil DJs. They don't realize it's just blind spots. So maybe courageous conversation is one thing. To actually say, when you do this, I feel like this.
Yeah. Okay, I'm talking about situations where it doesn't work. It's not about like healing and mending, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't know that they can't thrive with evil DJs around. Can you?
I don't know. I have found, there's some that are very toxic that you really can't.
Yeah.
But I have also found I've been in situations where I needed to stick there for maybe a higher reason.
Yeah.
And so then what I did is I insulated myself. I mean,
for example,
I had the coach, I had the mentor coming to see me every week. I had the spiritual director go see the priest. I mean, it's like when you are on the verge of getting sick or going to war, you armor up. Because then I knew I had to be here for X period of time.
Purpose. I like that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you do.
Yeah, because sometimes there's a muscle that you need to develop
to make it work.
in a war zone, which you can't develop on the beach.
Right.
Using,
And
so looking back, I'm like, I'm so grateful I stuck it out because that has helped me build the business I have now, because now I get what goes on in some of those spaces. And I can now speak into it because I lived it. So sometimes it's not to run away, it's to figure out, can I insulate myself? Can I raise the boundaries around myself? Can I surround myself, fortify myself to be able to cope with this and not be soaked in? Because sometimes you can become the evil DJ by osmosis, because the higher concentration is where it will go, isn't it? So you now become
it's
like
them.
them.
Complaining.
Yeah.
If you hang out with people who are complaining all the time,
then
you just end up complaining, right?
Exactly. As well. So that's what I found. So looking back now, I'm like, at the time, I didn't have the wisdom I have of hindsight. At the time, I was like, gosh, I just have to stick it out because there are no options. There was no higher purpose as such. It didn't sound so glam. But looking back now, I'm like, I'm so grateful that I withstood that. And but I guess at the end of the day, it's a very personal choice. You have to ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price for staying in this context, this situation? And what is my intention? And if I'm not willing to pay the price, then you have to find a way to then say, okay, I've done the best I could, and this is it. And that time came. But looking back, I was like, okay, I'm a lot more fortified, more courageous.
Yeah, and I like the idea of fortification because you can't leave, but it's the thoughts. For me, it's like the thoughts. If I'm even in a negative environment, I actually just start to wash myself and pray myself, cover myself, the Holy Spirit. I actually literally do things to kind of fortify my thoughts.
Insulate. And anyway, when you talk of insulation, we're also talking about your accountability partners. So as leaders, do we have to have accountability partners? And
I've always thrived better with accountability partners.
How can we go about that? Getting the right, because you can have accountability partners, but they're not the right ones. Getting the right ones. So, any thoughts on that?
Part of fortification,
before we
slide into accountability partners, I've also found, just recently and things like that also being able to, when you're around, the evil DJ, toxic people, is that you sometimes come out, remove yourself from the situation, and look at it and say, you know, that person, they have their issues, you know. So you see, it's not the attack on you
personally.
Yeah, but of course, you know, there's that book, The 4 Agreements. I mean, it's very hard truths there, but one of them is don't take things personally. But of course, everything someone takes you're like, you know, it's an attack on you. But if you look at it from the point of, you know, they are going through whatever it is they're going through, that is a whole other situation that's just transferred frustration onto me. So for me, it's okay. You just deal with what it is you do. I mean, you don't have to say it to them, but even in your mind, just convincing yourself and talking to yourself, you know, that self-talk, that it's not about me, it's about them. They have their own issue. It's okay, you know? So it's not a reflection. Let me just continue doing me.
That's a hard one to get. That other people's opinions are not a reflection of you. They're a reflection of them, their hearts, their experiences, their limitations, their past. Because someone who does want to guide should not break. You can actually tell somebody something negative without being an evil DJ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. No, you're right.
So I think the people who are kind of actually there to sort of just tell you that you're crap or whatever, it's got more to do with how they're feeling.
Let me ask a question. How do you deal with accountability, but in the sense of like if a leader does something to you, and how do you deal with that? How do you handle that? How do you communicate to them in a way that
you won't lose your job?
You lose your job, or they'll understand. Because what I find is sometimes people also don't speak up to their leaders because of the backlash and because they'll think that you are coming from an offensive or you don't care kind of perspective, especially if you're close friends and things like that. Just that dynamic. And I'm asking that because I went through that recently, where I decided to just speak up. Again, we're in this era of speaking
up. Well,
up.
we're in Rai school as well, so we can't.
The only challenge was that I took very long to speak up. So it was like after the fact. So somebody's wondering, why are you bringing it now? But I felt like me not speaking up meant that I was going to pull away. And I felt like that was going to be childish or unkind to that person, because I'd wonder, then why are you pulling away? What has happened? But then now when I spoke up, it kind of backfired.
No sense.
They felt blindsided.
Okay.
Yeah. They did not take too kindly the fact that I spoke up. They didn't see that they hadn't done anything, and I felt, why did I speak up? I should have just continued.
No, I want to encourage you.
I want to encourage you.
First of all, pride will die 24 hours after we are dead. Did you know that?
Say that again.
Pride will die 24 hours after we are dead.
I've never heard that.
Pride will die 24 hours after we are dead.
Right.
So when you're corrected, pride rises.
And especially if
It's a natural thing. Anytime you're corrected, generally, until you learn that you actually embrace, you even seek the feedback, generally you're like, hey, why is she saying that? Why is he saying that? That's a pride.
Human thing.
It's a human thing. It's ego, and the ego is there to protect us. But when the ego is overinflated, it now blocks us from growing. So first, when to encourage, first of all, well done on speaking. Because sometimes we don't, and then we keep regretting we wish we did. And I want to encourage you, and I think in Rai School, it's one of the sessions that come up, that having a courageous conversation, check your intention. Why do I want to say this? So that this person knows the impact of something they did, because maybe they don't know. Okay. So check your intention. Second thing, stop bearing the responsibility of how they will take it.
That's another one, because it sounds like you've carried their reaction more than your relief or whatever.
Because they're a person.
What can you do about that?
They're a person, not even just me.
Everybody.
A lot of people look up to them, and they're always in that position.
It's okay.
But I decided to speak up.
So you see, even if you want to carry their responsibility, you can't control their reaction to your. As long as you've been respectful, you've chosen the moment, you're not like embarrassing them, humiliating them, doing it in public, all those things. So don't take that responsibility, which is why your intention is important. And now go back to intentional. I really wanted this person to know, because I think the more impactful you are as leaders, the fewer people tell you the truth. Which is why your accountability and maybe beyond your accountability, your behavior of allowing people, tell me, is there something I'm missing? That even just that statement and actually being open to receiving the things you're missing. Because now you could say that and then the consequences are very high. Most people are like career limiting, I'm not saying anything. So to remember that pride is the first reaction.
That's so
even
interesting.
for us. And it's okay. The issue is choose your second